Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today, I want to talk about the upcoming NHL free agents, and they won't all be UFAs. I am going to be talking about UFAs and RFAs. There is a distinct difference between the two that I have for you today. But as we come down to the end of 2019 and getting to the halfway mark of the 2019-2020 NHL season, a lot of rumors have obviously been starting in regards to possible trades come the deadline. And what I wanted to do today was talk about possible players that are either already on the block or could be on the block come the deadline and possibly get traded as soon as the start of 2020. So, with that being said, I'm going to start this all off. Some of these picks are pretty obvious, and then others were just my personal opinion that I could just see realistically happening. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about every single player that I think can possibly get traded because that could essentially be every and any UFA currently in the NHL. So I'm going to just be listing off between 8 and 10 and just the ones that I think are most likely going to be shipped out at some point this season. So starting it off, I have from the Pittsburgh Penguins, I have Justin Schultz. Now, this one may come as a surprise given the fact that the Penguins have dealt with numerous injuries all season, as any hockey fan who's been following them would know. But given how well guys like Ricola and John Marino have been playing, it just seems more and more likely for the Penguins to part ways with Justin Schultz. If not by the deadline, then by the end of the season. He's 30 years old. He's played 27 games this year. He's been injury prone as well. He has 2 goals, 6 assists, and 8 points. And his cap hit currently is 5.5 mil, and he will be a UFA at the end of the season. So Schultz, I could definitely see getting moved to possibly help the Penguins in regards to just more scoring depth, or get a younger, cheaper option on defense just for depth, because Schultz is a guy that obviously that a lot of teams, contending teams, would love to have in their top 2 lines defensively and help you on the power play, etc. You know, he has some offensive upside. Even though he's been injury prone, he would definitely be a team that I know many would be interested in. So, and especially with the way the Penguins have been playing fantastic, with or without their stars in the lineup, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever to see Justin Schultz get moved sometime before the season ends. So with that being said, that's my pick from the Penguins. I have Justin Schultz. Then after that, this one might come as a surprise as well, but seeing the trajectory the Chicago Blackhawks are going in, Robin Lehner seems more and more likely to possibly be a possible trade chip as well. Lehner's having a fantastic season. He's 29 years old. Obviously, he just came over this season from the Islanders in free agency. And in 23 games played, he has 11 wins. He has a 2.77 goals against average and a save percentage of .926. So, stellar stats. He has kept them remotely close from being one of the bottom feeders of the team, the league, that being the Chicago Blackhawks. And Lehner is a fantastic goaltender, has really been a late bloomer in his career, and I could definitely see a lot of teams being interested in him, especially given the fact that his cap hit would be 5 mil, but for a contending team that is looking for some help in the goaltending that can afford it, a team like possibly even Colorado comes to mind if, say, Francouz doesn't play up to expectation through the rest of the season. Other teams like that. Toronto obviously needs a goaltender, but they really wouldn't be able to afford him unless they gave off a significant piece in return that is around the same cap, like Kasperi Kapanen would come to mind. But with all the injuries that's been happening with Toronto, that seems more unlikely at this current state in the season. So Lehner, I could definitely see being moved to a contending team or a team that's on the cusp of contending that would like to try to lock him up to a multi-year deal to be their goalie of the foreseeable future. So Robin Lehner, I have from the Chicago Blackhawks, just makes total sense. Blackhawks aren't going anywhere this season. They're essentially in a rebuild at this point. They're trying to contend, but they really need to just commit to the full rebuild. Obviously keep the leaders on the team like Patrick Kane, etc. But besides that, they can still do a couple moves, and defensively they obviously need to continue to upgrade there. So I have Robin Lehner from the Chicago Blackhawks. Then I have two from the New York Rangers, one being Chris Kreider, one being Alexander Georgiev. Georgiev tied right back in with Toronto as well. Their problem obviously is cap reasons, but besides from Toronto, I could see other teams really being interested in Georgiev, especially because of how cheap he is. He's only 23 years old. He's having a great season. In 18 games played, he has 10 wins, a goals allowed average of 2.99, and a save percentage of 915. And he's only making a little bit over $700,000 this season. And at the end, he's an RFA. Now, I'm sure the Rangers, including myself, I love Georgiev. I do not want to see him go. But the Rangers have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to goaltending, in case you didn't know, with having the heir apparent to the throne of Henrik Lundqvist, and that is Igor Shesterkin. He is currently dominating in his first season in North America in the AHL, and he just turned 24 today. Today's his birthday, so it just seems more and more likely that he is the next man up. And given the fact that Henrik Lundqvist still has a year left on his contract and he isn't going to get traded, I would not be surprised to see the Rangers move Georgiev while he's young and hot and get as much they can possibly get out of him. So, not that I want to see him go, but realistically, I don't see Shesterkin playing another season in the AHL next year, especially. So, Georgiev's tough. A lot of teams are interested in him, I'm sure, and rightfully so. And he is a guy, actually, that Toronto can afford, but the return would be the interesting part. And a lot of other contending teams would be interested in him as well. Even possibly a team like Florida you have to think about as well with the goaltending issues that they've had, along with the defense. But goaltending especially, they haven't solidified a backup yet. Montembeault has been really up and down. He hasn't proven himself this year. They have Chris Drieger in there, who really is an AHL goaltender at best. So it'll be interesting, but I can see Georgiev being moved. Same thing with Chris Kreider. I think Chris Kreider is 99.1% guaranteed to get traded by the deadline. Kreider, as we all know, is arguably the best winger on the trade market right now. He is 29 years old and 38 games played. He has 11 goals, 13 assists for 24 points. He has a cap hit of $4.625 million, and he's a UFA at the end of the season. It seems like he isn't going to be asking for anything less than 6-7 years, and rightfully so. This will be his probably last big contract with any team, and it doesn't seem like the Rangers want to go that route given the fact that even though they are playing well this season, I think that they are still prioritizing their future more than their current state of the roster, and rightfully so. So Kreider I definitely see being moved. A lot of teams are interested. Colorado comes to mind given the fact that they didn't go after Taylor Hall. You have the St. Louis Blues as a possibility as well, just to add more depth. Boston Bruins are going to be interested, and plenty of other teams. Pretty much any contending team that can afford his cap hit will definitely consider him. So Kreider will be traded. It's just a matter of when and where. So after those two, I have from the Los Angeles Kings, and I add Tyler Toffoli. This one's a pretty obvious one too. He's 28 years old. In 40 games played, he has 10 goals, 12 assists for 22 points, and he has a cap hit of $4.6 million, and he is a UFA at the end of the season as well. Toffoli is a very interesting player. He's a perfect lock in your in the top of your bottom six. Can contribute in the top six at times, but he's better off being a second, third line winger. Can contribute on the power play, has a good shot, and with the state the Kings are in, obviously going to be in a full rebuild sooner than later, it only makes sense to get rid of expiring contracts like Toffoli, who could definitely benefit any contending team for some depth scoring. So I'm sure plenty of teams would be interested in him as well. And other teams like Montreal comes to mind. If they are, in fact, close to a playoff push come the deadline, I wouldn't be surprised if they went after a guy like him as well, because they need scoring depth, that is for sure. So that is my pick from the LA Kings. And then for the San Jose Sharks, I have Melker Karlsson. He is 25 years old. He has only 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists in 39 games played, but he has a cap hit of $3.2 million. He's a UFA, a very young, interesting forward who isn't having a stellar season by any means this year, but that goes with the majority of the San Jose team. They are currently the worst team in the West, which was surprising me. I said in previous videos how I thought San Jose would, get out of this funk and make a push for the playoffs, but it just seems like that is more and more unlikely now. I don't see it happening. So if San Jose is smart, they should get rid of some movable pieces that they can to get some picks, if anything. Especially with Melker being a young forward, a lot of teams would be interested in him, and that cap hit definitely helps his chances of getting a better return than him, say, being upwards of $5 million with his current cap hit. So Melker Karlsson, I won't be surprised to see him moved either come the deadline. And to getting close to wrapping up this video, I have John Gabriel Pageau. It was between him and Anthony Duclair. Anthony Duclair is having a stellar season, but I don't see Ottawa even considering moving him because Duclair is a young, controllable forward who is an RFA at the end of the season. It seems from the way he's been playing that I won't be surprised if they want to keep him as a core piece in their future, and that would make sense for Ottawa. So Pageau makes a lot more sense to be moved. He is 28 years old. In 39 games played, he has 18 goals, 11 assists for 29 points. He has a cap hit of only 3.1 mil, so that is ridiculously good on Ottawa's end and should definitely help them in trading him, and he's a UFA at the end of the season. Pageau is having the best season of his career to date. Even though that he hasn't necessarily been as consistent in previous seasons, he has always been consistent in the playoffs. He has shined there numerous times for the Senators when they have been there, and he would make a lot of sense for any team that is looking for really a third line center. That would be perfect for him. Obviously, you can have him in the top 6, but especially deeper teams, whether it be Colorado, possibly even Dallas, Montreal, etc. Teams that are deeper in their forward group, that would just add more insult to injury for the opposing team. So Pageau is a very interesting piece, and I'm really curious to see where he's going to go, but he is for sure going to be moved. There's no question in my mind. He is 100% guaranteed will be traded by the deadline. And to conclude the video, I have 2 other forwards. This is one where I don't know which one will be moved, but I won't be surprised if one of them is Evgeny Dadonov and Mike Hoffman. Obviously, the Florida Panthers are trying to push for playoffs and have a run this year, but their defense has been a ginormous problem for them. And you have Dadonov and Hoffman, who are both having solid seasons, but both UFAs at the end of the year, both having decent cap hits on the roster. And it's a matter of the Panthers have the scoring, so are they willing to give up one of these rentals to get a solid defenseman to help them have more, I would say, more of a stay-at-home defenseman. Guys like Jake Gardner, who isn't fitting well with Carolina, comes to mind that could possibly benefit with Florida. Even another guy from Carolina, even though he's been playing good for them, Joel Edmondson, another stay-at-home defenseman who's been solid. And there are other low-cost defensemen that could possibly be in the Panthers' favor if they wish to seek it. I definitely think they should because the scoring is there, and I don't think it would be a glaring hole if they are still contending come the deadline, but the goals they're giving up is just too prominent. They need help on defense, so I won't be surprised if one of them at least is moved to help bring a significant defender in to help their chances at making the playoffs and having a deep run. So Dadonov is 31 years old. Hoffman is 30. They have both played 38 games this year, haven't missed one. Dadonov has 29 points, and same with Hoffman. The only difference is that Dadonov has 14 goals and 15 assists, when Hoffman has 13 goals and 14 assists. So actually, I was wrong. Hoffman should have 27 points, not 29. But they're basically neck and neck there. Hoffman has shown more inconsistency, in my opinion, this season over Dadonov. But overall, they are both great shooters, great with the puck, can make things happen, great in anyone's top 9 for sure, more so top 6. But this Florida team is deep. They're having guys who necessarily weren't expected to step into play, playing well. Noel Acciari comes to mind. Brett Connolly is doing what they kind of expected him to, picking him up in free agency. So Florida has a chance to move one of these significant forwards because they won't be able to sign both of them in free agency either. And I don't think that they will necessarily want to. They need a better defense, and I won't be surprised if one of them is moved to make that happen. So that is going to conclude this video. These were just some guys that came to my mind that I think realistically have a solid chance of being moved come this season's trade deadline. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will be back in a couple days. And if I'm not back by then have a happy new year. Thank you.